I work with organizations in work related to leadership and culture. I do coaching, I do facilitation, and I do a little bit of change work. I started off as an engineer quite some time back in the industry, and later on moved to people development. So I went through a career transition in that sense. I live in Singapore, and my work is mostly in the Asia region, including Japan, Korea, and other parts of Asia, and sometimes extending to Asia Pacific. It was my kind of dream to pursue a doctoral program. I love learning. I love interacting with people, sharing my experience and listening to other people's experience, and thus broadening my perspective about life and work. And PSP happened to be the best institution I could enroll with, considering the flexibility in terms of the class sessions, the thesis, and the topics I could pick and choose. So that's how I ended up with PSP.
Well, in retrospect, how long have you been at PSP, and how do you feel about the choice you made?
I'm very happy with the choice I made, and I thoroughly enjoy it. Now it's my third year in my doctoral program. I enjoyed the professors who were leading these sessions, as well as all my colleagues and classmates from various parts of the world. So I thoroughly enjoy it.
Do you feel comfortable saying that Zoom is an experience that's unlike other teleconferencing experiences you might have had in the past? Is it different?
Yes, it's very different in the sense I'm familiar with Zoom even before I joined PSP. I used various virtual platforms in my work with corporates, interacting with people across the world. Yet I think that Zoom provides us opportunities that kind of simulates a face-to-face session, including sharing of content with the presenters and with the classmates, and also the ability to record, which is very, very useful.
Is I actually felt that working with all of us together on Zoom gave me a better understanding of who everybody was and where they were in the universe than actually the time we spent physically together. What about you?
I think it was the same for me. Even if I did not meet people personally face to face, I would have been very comfortable, and I would say that I know this person very well. So meeting in person was a bonus, but I thought Zoom created a great experience of creating the closeness with every one of the classmates and the faculty.
How do you think you are going to be different as a result of the PSP experience? Are you?
I feel accomplished in the sense I pursued a dream and I made it manifest, and I enjoyed that experience. So it adds to my confidence, adds to my fulfillment in terms of my life. The second one is I made a lot of so-called friends and like-minded people, like-minded in the sense who may have a different point of view, but willing to discuss, willing to accept me, and then create something together. So that kind of extends my network. And the third one is the intellectual pursuit of having been able to read, research many different types of books, and even explore areas of life that I have not explored before. So it's going to value add to my personal life and professional life, and enrich my future experiences.
So what kind of undergraduate school did you attend?
I did a master's program with a university in the US, George Washington University, that was a master's in human resource development. My undergraduate was in engineering, so I started off as an engineer, and my undergraduate education was in Asia, and then I did a master's with the US university, and then third one now is with PSP. And each one of them were so different and challenged me in many different ways. And master's was an eye-opener in terms of how faculty deals with students and how students deals with each other and the topics that they need to study. When it came to PSP, it was a whole different world, kind of opening up new perspectives about life in general, and especially the topic being psychology. It opens up new doors to see people differently, new worldviews, and interpreting experiences in new different ways. And I used to think that there is right and wrong in many different ways, and PSP kind of showed me that they are all different perspectives for different people, and my right and my wrong is just mine, and doesn't have to be for anyone else. So yes, it challenged my belief systems and my worldview in a very big way.
Did you ever have I guess I'd call it a PSP moment, when you suddenly realized this was a different experience?
I think I had very clear distinction between academics, profession, business, and then spirituality. And PSP just opened doors and made those boundaries become very thin and sometimes fade it away. And I saw sometimes that in PSP, the boundaries and distinctions blur, and everything comes together as one single thing that we are talking about. Call it professional, academic, or spiritual, or life. It doesn't matter, but it just kind of moments of integrating everything together. And there were many such moments for me.
If you had to say that there's one thing that you are still waiting for in the PSP experience, is there such a thing?
In my own pursuit, I am waiting for my own voice, and I need to be able to hear that voice loud and clear from within myself before I can project that voice out to the external world. And I think PSP will contribute a lot, and has already contributed and will contribute a lot in finding that voice.
Tell me a little bit about the people that you've met through PSP?
I could pick and choose courses related to clinical psychology or organizational psychology, which I never imagined I could. I kind of understood what counseling is all about, therapy is all about, and how people like Freud and Carl Jung and practitioners see life and see people, and how do they deal with those interactions with their clients. And in that context, I interacted with many counselors and therapists and people who deal with pathology in terms of human beings. And this was very interesting. And add to that, people coming from different cultures like Israel, coming from the Philippines, or coming from Poland and living in the US. And they were all so different the way they think. And I saw the diversity in terms of beliefs and perspectives and the ways and means of doing things. And it was so enriching for me.
Is there anything else that you think you'd like to say? Because you've been very eloquent and brilliant, but I want to make sure, is there anything that you thought about since the last interview, or even this one, that might just be an occurrence, whether it's about the people or about the professor or about the school, or whatever?
I really enjoyed and thoroughly respected the way PSP deals with the students and the curriculum. And I have seen inclusiveness as one of the great values that PSP practices, in the sense that PSP really understands cultural differences and differences in lifestyles across the world, and accepts those perspectives and gives us an opportunity or a platform to express ourselves in the way we think is right. There is no pressure, but there is this vast openness where we could just be ourselves, and that's something that I valued a lot. In the sense, I could just be quiet in a class if I choose to be, or I could choose to speak up. I could bring in my own personal experiences in a very subjective way that is not analyzed and criticized, but very well accepted. At the same time, PSP also opens up my mind to see things very differently, even things that are opposite to my own belief systems. So that's something that I really valued. I would call it inclusiveness and diversity in PSP. The second point, just one more, is PSP is on the cutting edge in the sense very creative. Uh, no boundaries in the way I could express myself. For example, I could write a paper, I could provide a presentation, I could write a poetry, I could express myself in ways that I think is best rather than what the organization thinks. And that was a big relief and caused me a lot of excitement, including how my dissertation would turn out to be.
You explored other possibilities, etc. What made you pick, because you didn't know PSP at the beginning, so
Yes.
obviously you had to make some decision. Was it a cost issue? Was it a sense of bill, or what made you decide in favor of the school in the first place?
I explored many schools, and I had some criteria. And first criteria was flexibility, and an organization who believes in the principles of adult education and who uses technology very well, effectively. Third one is perspectives, an organization who understands all aspects of human life without boundaries. And one final thing was the flexibility of payments, including cost. So PSP was my first choice considering all these things. And then I got some very good recommendations from a colleague of mine who attended PSP before me. And then conversations with Bill was kind of an opportunity for me to make that decision. Even though I was 90% decided after I spoke to Bill, I found one of the very important things is the appreciative view of the world and appreciative view of education that kind of made my decision solid and 100%.
Well, you brought up the issue of cost. So is the school a great place because of the cost, or is it a great place and it has the additional benefit of being economical?
Even though I started off with the cost as a main consideration, now I have changed my mind in the sense that PSP is a place, is a great place because of the benefits it offers to students. Yet I think it was not obvious to me in the beginning, and I thought cost is the criteria based on which I was making a decision. Yet later on, I discovered that cost is not. Or there are many other benefits other than the cost that makes PSP a great place to be.